Yeah, I know. I had a hard time finding the channel. I couldn't find it. I don't.
Welcome to this special edition live stream of Michigan Bros Grow Show. Today we have guests including Abolished, we have Eagle, we have Sequence, we have Old Man Hermit Hash, we have Spartan Grown, and myself, Skillbone One. And we are glad to have you here. Fellas, how's it going?
It's going awesome, Patrick. I see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining the party. Really appreciate you showing up to Cup and meeting both me and Skillbo, smoking us out. How's it going, panel guys?
Pretty good. Just sitting here with the beautiful Miss Cantaloupe. Got a little support tonight. I'm not solo. It's
I remember
it's
meeting you guys at Cup.
Get on a panel with everybody. We've been bullshitting for a couple weeks now. You guys are all awesome. I just gotta say that.
Thank you, man.
Old Man Hermit Hash, checking in. Things are good. Good to be here. It's kind of cool to see everybody's faces. I like that. Looking forward to the night.
Old Man Hermit Hash brings the best hair to the panel tonight.
Oh boy.
I'm Spartan Grown, and I wore my hat today, so I had to compete with that hair over there. And I'm just loving it, man. I'm loving hanging with you guys. It seems like every time I meet a new person, they're more like me than not like me. So it's like meeting myself a lot of times. So it's awesome to hang out with a bunch of people, because a lot of times you get stuck doing this kind of thing. You don't really get out there a lot, so you don't really run into a lot of different people. So when you meet people that are just like you, it's pretty cool thing to have, pretty special thing.
That's been the best part about starting this show, is getting to talk to other people that have the same interests, just like when you meet somebody at Cup and you can't stop talking to them because of what they're doing. And I guess it'd be pretty easy to start with, what are you guys doing in your grow? That's an easy icebreaker topic. Did anyone just start some plants or just finish some plants and is excited about what they have coming up?
I've just started working with some new T5 LEDs, and I've got a few new strains going. Beard on Fire and Challenger Deep at the moment. Running in cocoa, big giant air pots. That's just one tent. I've got a few other tents. I'm running the LEDs, and I also run a couple tents with HPS, all at various stages. It's a never-ending job.
I saw that you just put those LEDs in that room. Have you noticed any changes, like early on, compared to your HPS?
So far, they're early in veg right now, but they're responding well to the T5s. I'm happy so far. I'm anxious to see how they'll flower. That's the object of this test, is to see how they'll flower out. And I think they're going to do well. So far, so good.
Were you always a cocoa grower, or were you doing super soil before that?
Oh, I did super soil in the beginning, and then I went over to cocoa. I got greedy. And,
chasing you
over to the cocoa. I've been in cocoa now for about 10 years. Recently switched cocos to a grow it cocoa chips. It's almost solid chips, super airy. Loving it so far.
I use Mother's Earth cocoa. I don't know if you have any experience with that. It's one of the bagged blend ones. It's a 70-30 mix. I've had pretty good luck with that so far.
No, I haven't run it, but I've always heard great things about it. Before this, I ran.
What nutrients are you running in that cocoa?
Right now, I'm running another test, crop salt nutrients. So we're still early on with that. Still happy with that so far. Before that, I was running Blue Planet nutrients.
Yeah.
But they don't pay. They're not sponsoring, so
Yeah.
that's what we're running this round.
Well, it certainly helps, with the bottom line and all of the different metrics that are affecting us every day now, with prices going down and costs going up in various ways, it helps here and there.
I know at work where I just started working there at that commercial grow, they were running 2 par, something like that. It's made by Royal Gold, and it's a blend like what you're talking. But so far the plants are blowing up in it. So, I mean, it's the first time I've ever been dealing with that stuff. But so far that stuff's pretty awesome too. As far as
Spartan, how many plants you guys got?
So there's 6. I don't know how much of this stuff I'm supposed to talk about, but they didn't say not to talk about it. So we have 6 flower rooms, and there's 120 plants per flower room. And then a veg big enough to just keep feeding them, and harvest every 2 weeks is the plan. So see what happens.
What caught your eye in there?
Oh my God, everything catches my eyes just because it's just the whole field of weed, man. It's all you can see. But I don't even. What's crazy about that place is the dedication they've had to keeping the canopy level. Because honestly, if you were to walk through the room and look at it without looking at the tags, you would think they were all the same exact variety because they're all exactly the same height. I mean, it's just beautiful all the way across. You might see a little bit of variance here and there, but and we have, I think, 6. I can't remember. I think we're trying to keep each table as one strain, so you don't have mixed up flower. And there's 3 tables per room. So what was that? 120 plants. So what does that come out to? I can't think right now. However many on there. Yeah. So, but right now we don't have anything with real big flowers on it yet. I think the latest one in that. The first room, I think, might be into week 2 or 3 of flowers. So as far as catching my eye, it's just, you're going to look at just plant structure, stuff like that, and they all look pretty good. So I'm just waiting for that because they haven't even taken harvest down yet. So it's still really early on. So it's pretty awesome to get in right at the ground floor and see how everything gets kind of put together. It's kind of I don't think you have many chances in life to get into a new industry. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You guys doing it from seeds or clones?
Clones. Actually, we do have 4 or 5 plants from seed that we're doing a pheno hunt on. But we just brought them in, so we just took. I think the first clones were just taken off last week of that plant. So we're not even sure sex on it yet. So. But everything else has been, when you start, you can bring in, if one of your caregivers can bring in all of his strains that he wants into the business and get them in the system right from the get-go. So the guy who owns it, I'm assuming, was the one that brought in all these strains, and we have a lot. So, I mean, when you have that opportunity to bring it in, it's kind of a limited window, so bring in as many as you can bring in, you know what I'm saying? But right now in Michigan, we also, I don't know if, I'll have to check the law to be 100% on this, but at least we were used to, we're used to be able to sell to grows. You can sell clones to them, and they can take them in that way and get them into metric from caregivers. And the reason they did that was just to get these, because there's no clone store to go to, you know what I mean? So that was their way, the state's way of trying to fix that problem.
In my little bit of commercial grow experience, like when I went in to help with like a trim crew, the thing that really impressed me the most, it wasn't the yields, they were harvesting over 100 pounds at a time. It was the amount of keef generated in the damn automatic trimmers. Holy cow, dude.
We're not automatic trimming anything.
Oh, nice.
It's all hand trim. Nice trimmers. Not nice if I got to do it. What you got going there, Skillbo?
Blue cheese.
That's a classic.
That's the Barney's Farm is the one that I got. So I had like a 5-pack of them. popped them, and then I numbered them all like I was going to keep them, and I just never took clones of them. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, I had new shit coming in, so it didn't make the cut. But it's really, really nice smoke. And the one thing I'll say about it, if anybody is looking at the Barneys, there were two clear phenotypes. There was one that had a really musky, earthy, that real cheesy smell, and that's more the indica leaner. And then there was the really, really tall, super, super tall sativa one, which really leaned more into the blue flavors. But a really nice smoke. It's, you don't always have to go with the latest and the greatest. Sometimes the oldies can be the goodies.
Absolutely.
They definitely can. We have a question in the chat for Spartan Grown from Bad Bunny. They're asking what you're growing right now, bro.
Oh my God. So I've got Spartan Glue, Med Glue, Death Star, Primal Punch, a mystery strain, because that's the Pheno Hunt Challenge that we got going on. So they didn't tell us what the strain was. We all just had to kind of grow it and see what we get. And then see, I'm looking at my list. Oh, CB Diesel. That's the one I'm kind of most interested in. I just cut that down, my first harvest of it, and it's drying now. But I don't have any CBD plants, so that's a new one for me. I've been chasing CBD for a while. I haven't had any high CBD plants, I should say. So I'm going to see what these are. These ones were supposed to be a 1-to-1 ratio. But I got some pretty cool tips on when you're growing CBD and you want to manipulate the ratios of THC to CBD. I was told by Rasta Jeff that if you harvest early, you can bump up your CBD numbers. So what I'm doing, obviously I keep track of when I harvest and write that down, but I'm going to do it extra on that to the day, and just try to dial it right in to where I can get that 1-to-1. I don't really care what the percentage is. It could be 10%, it could be 50%, or it's not going to be that high, but whatever the percentage, it could be 5%. I don't care. I want it to be as close to 1-to-1 as possible. And the reason for that is all the literature I've seen on for cancer is the best results was a 1-to-1 ratio of CBD THC. So I'm going to try to dial that one in and then use that for my RSO treatments.
It makes sense to me about harvesting earlier to get a higher CBD rate. I was listening to your interview earlier this week, and I was horrified to hear your results with the Pennywise.
The thing was, though, is the Pennywise was so good. Well, it stayed in my garden for 2 years, even not being a CBD plant. That's why I'm really convinced that whole plant medicine is the real medicine. Or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm saying it's important that you have the whole medicine, because maybe it's not just the CBD that was really driving the healing properties of that particular strain. I'm sure it helps, but maybe it's the terpene profile. Maybe it's some of the minor cannabinoids. Who knows? But I actually still have some. I still have some, but it's not completely gone yet. But it will be soon.
Entourage effect. Entourage.
Yeah, exactly. The entourage effect. Yep. And shout out to Bad Bunny Nutrients. I saw them at the cup. They hooked me up with some of the sample of their nutrients that they have. I'm excited to try to get some of that stuff. Hopefully, I'm trying to convince my grow store to pick it up. But
no burn.
No, and you know what? I put it in the tea because I only had the one sample. I was like, I'm going to stretch this and I'm going to hit everything with it. I'm just going to brew it in the tea. Then I can dilute my tea so that every plant can get some. And they all loved it. I mean, I didn't get any burn. Everything was happy and healthy afterwards. So
I'm actually testing them out too right now. I'm doing top dresses though, man. Seems to go good.
What are you running over there, Abolished?
Got the Abolished OG, of course. Sour Melon and Dead Star from Mantis Genetics. I also have the Fire and Flames from Canna Queen Genetics. And then I'm getting ready to pop, I think it's pronounced Babel from Mantis. That's a 1-to-1. Because I just got done doing a CBD run with Canna Queen's 3 Little Nightingales. That was a 3-to-1. And I had pretty good results with that. But like you said, all the research that I've looked up, it says a 1-to-1 ratio is the best way to go. pretty much treat cancer and a bunch of other things. So yeah, I'm gonna try and do that. And the fact that that CBD bud doesn't look like CBD bud also makes me want to grow it. It's really danky looking.
Well, and
I
as
think
far
that
as
really helps.
as far as
THC in it.
yeah, as far
Yeah.
as CBD goes, you have to basically, you're going to have to test your plant. You can't just go off of what the back of the seed pack says. I don't care if it says 1-to-1 or if it's 12-to-1. It's really genetic. You have to have it tested if it really is that important to you. And it's more affordable than ever today. Who on here who's using Sci Labs? One of you guys is. I remember somebody telling us about it.
I use them all the time. But I would just use their basic service. You know, I don't get into all the crazy stuff. I would love to be able to afford to terpene test it and get the minor cannabinoids and all that. I would love to, but man, I can't afford to pay for that, man. And I can give you guys the prices of that. I looked it up, and it comes out to, actually I've got it up here, that package that I get that gives you 10 tests, it costs you, what was it, 300 for edibles for 10 edible tests, or 275 for 10 flower tests. And that's the major cannabinoids. So you're going to get, you know, THC, CBD, CBN, that kind of stuff, but you're not going to get any of your terpenes. You're not going to get, I think you might get 4 or 5 major cannabinoids.
But as a patient, let's say that I'm getting my card or I'm getting into this because I'm really, really passionate about this 1-to-1 that you guys keep telling me about. I'm a listener. So it sounds to me like I'm going to pay, let's just say $100 for a pack of seeds, right? So I got $100 in these seeds, and it's going to be a 10-pack of seeds. So I'll be able to get this Sci Labs or any other testing places 10-pack of kit, and I'll be able to submit a sample, put it in, get a read back on these, and I'll know that it was my number 6 plant that was actually the 1-to-1. Does that sound about right to you guys?
Yep. I would just say be good at keeping notes, so that you can tell, okay, numbers, you know, if you're giving them names or you're giving them numbers or however you're doing it, you'll be able to tell, okay, my number 6 plant, this is the one that grew X amount, or this is the one that, you know, I had to, you know, it really drank a lot, and then you have all that information for your next grow, and you're not starting back from the beginning again, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to get my money's worth, and I'm taking what am I going to say? I'm taking the chances out of this instead of keeping the one that maybe my nose wants me to keep, or my taste wants to keep. I really want to keep the medicine. So again, it sounds like, for how much was the test for 10-pack?
275.
So for less than
we can round up
$400.
this. Yeah. I would say we can round up to 300 and say $30 a test, but that's a little bit cheaper. Plus, you got to remember, unless you're getting off FEMS, you know, every one of those you're not going to flower out, so you're going to save a little bit of money there on testing. You don't have to test all 10 unless you have 10 FEMS, then you're going to test them. But you can get some males, you don't have to test them.
Unless
I
you're
think
that
it's
kind of
great
guy.
as a grower to use all the tools that we can, you know, for pheno hunting our plants and getting the best medicine that we can get for people, like you guys are saying. You can really narrow down, like, if you're focusing on the highest THC percent, you can really knock that out immediately.
And depending on who or what your feelings are on some of these labs like Phylos, I mean, you can use them to probably test your plants from a really early stage before you even flower them out, and they can still give you a profile, a cannabinoid profile. So you don't even have to flower them all the way out. They even have programs. No, I just don't like the way that they handle things, so I wouldn't work with them so much. But I might use them to test my plants for sex testing, but that's probably about it. But they do have a breeding program, because they send me things in the email all the time about it, where you can hook up with them and they'll test all your plants and tell you which ones you should cross together. But that sounds like you're taking all the fun out of it. So I don't know, just my opinion.
Old man Hermit Hash, what are you doing over there, bro? Don't be sitting back in the cut.
You know, I smoked some of that garlic can I got sitting back here. Whew. Yeah, you know, I in terms of my garden, which was the, you know, older question, I got, of course, the garlic cane. I'm hunting again. I've got some more seeds popped. I'm still looking, man. I love it, but I'm gonna pop the rest of them and figure that out. Otherwise, some more caramello, and really, I'm just cloning out my my hunted phenos already, and so I've got an outdoor grow going and a little indoor grow going, saving electricity for the summer. You know what I mean?
How are you doing your outdoor grow?
Just in the garden, man. Dug in super deep. I actually tossed all of my last grows dirt in there, so like, you know, $400 worth of really expensive soil, and and I'm top dressing, and really I haven't grown outdoors in like 20 years, you know, so it's pretty fun to let it kind of handle itself, you know, and I'm just training them out, and they're getting big, and we'll see what happens, you know.
Are they going to be monsters?
Yeah, not super monsters, but they'll be, for me, they'll be monsters. So, you know, just my 12 in the garden out there.
Yeah, right on. Man, the garlic cane, that always looks so nice, brother.
Man,
I see why you keep chasing it.
I wish I could have found you guys at the Cup. I brought a bunch. I ended up, I don't know, I gave some back to them, actually, to in-house. And a couple testers that I ran, gave them some of that stuff. That's been it, you know, for the last little bit. Working on the hash, you know, working this last crop's hash out, and, you know, making edibles and doing freeze dryer stuff. So that's about it.
You know, that's one thing that I see a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, but I see plenty of people around me do, is they like to do an outdoor grow every year. Like you said, 12 plants, just their own plants. They'll grow 12 outdoor, and then that's all they grow for the entire year. And, you know, they stretch it. Right about now, they're usually almost out or out, and usually hit me up to get some of mine. But because, I don't know, it's weird how it seems like, at least the circles I run in, indoor growing isn't very popular. Like, it's too much work or whatever it is, whatever the reason. But and it's crazy the different things you hear about. You know, everybody's got their own way of doing it outside, and you can hear some crazy things, you know, like putting dead animals in the hole or fish in the hole. Or I'm just like, wow, man. I just I do 2 outside every year. I have a deal with a buddy. He lets me put 2 in his garden. He grows his 12, and it's in an old pig farm or old pig pen. So he'll raise pigs in the wintertime. You know, they get harvested in around January, February. It just sits there and just seeps in, and then we plant around beginning of June. And I usually just dig, like you said, dig a big hole. I usually just grab 2-3 bags of the soil I'm growing in now, the Dig It soil, or Detroit Nutrient Company soil. That works really good out there. Throw that in there and put my plant in there and just water it. Just water it. I might give it some kind of a microbe thing, like a recharge or a mammoth pea or something like that. Maybe 3 times all season, something like that. And it's basically mostly just all water.
So that's your pro tip. Your outdoor pro tip is don't be afraid to hit it with a little bit of mammoth pea, maybe a little bit of recharge, something like that.
But you don't need a lot. You only need to do it. Like I would honestly for vet, or basically your veg, that's when I use the recharge, maybe 2 times total in veg. You know, you're talking
because there's already microbes in the soil. It's already out there. You know what I mean? It's already there. You're just kind of giving it that jump start, maybe letting it set its, you know, if it's not there, it's going to be there, and it's going to get, you know, into the rhizosphere, and we're going to be off to the races. Yeah,
exactly. And the microbes that have, you know, already evolved and everything in this native soil there, they're probably going to be the best thing for your plant. But what I'm doing with, like, for example, recharge, I know that the microbes that they've picked for that mix is mostly to liberate nitrogen. So that's why I'm throwing them into the veg phase. And then I avoid it in the flower, and I use mammoth pea in flower because I know mammoth pea, there's only like, is it 3 or 4? I can't remember. Strains of microbes in there, and those are all just to liberate the, what's pea? Phosphorus now? Yeah, phosphorus.
Other pro tip is don't be afraid to use a little bit of photosynthesis plus. If you want to hit it with all 3, hit it with the mammoth pea, hit it with the recharge, and then come back through with the photosynthesis plus, or maybe some great white or some orca.
Yep. I like I like the Great White on a transplant. That's about the only time I use it because I think it's really expensive for what it is. But I think it's a really good product, so I still want to use it. But I use it only on transplant. And I'll just put that directly on the roots, just because it's an expensive product. I want to make sure it's getting to the root.
I use Great White Granular in all my indoor grows, and that went into my outdoor. You know what I mean? I kind of figured I did throw a little bit of herb in, Herb Natural, which is a product I use all the time, and I threw a little bit of that in at the onset of my transplant outdoors, which really wasn't that long ago. It's like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago now. I kept them in for a while because it's been crazy this year, right? The weather, I don't know. People can't even grow corn, you know. So it's been
Yeah,
been a weird
we had to dig.
spring.
We dug little channels just to drain the water away
Trenches, yeah.
because just too much rain.
A little bit of mycorrhizae, guys. Anybody using mycorrhizae on their outside?
Yeah, it's in the recharge.
Give that jump in there. Yep.
I use my 2-row malted barley to give me some enzymes and to give me a boost into the mycorrhiza field. Like, they just blow up when you topple that.
He's singing my song. See, there's that finally. Finally, I've been liberated. Somebody talking about that barley besides
Let's
my
hear some
crazy
strain
ass.
names and less bag names. What do you got going on over there, Abolish?
Strain names. What about?
Yeah, of your different fungi and all of that stuff.
It's pretty simple. Like I said, I use to bring in my fungal component, I use the malted barley. I crush it up first. It seems to help it bloom a lot faster and get going. But that stuff's like instant. You put it in there and overnight you got buds. You can mix it in there. You can do your transplants with it, like you do your whatever, your mycos and extreme, all that stuff. Yeah. Other than that, I like aloe vera. I like to just go and take a whole sleeve of aloe vera, chop that shit up with scissors and like little slivers. Water that in. That gives a real good boost to the microbes in the soil. Wettens it up. Like, I don't know. I don't have a problem with products. Like I said, I've used them in the past to give myself boosts, but I'm cheap.
Hey, Abolished. Guess what I got coming in the mail? I got coming tomorrow from Amazon. Some
Soap
soap
nut?
nuts. Some soap nuts. You already knew it, bro. Run it down for the fellas on that.
I love that stuff. Like, of course, I don't have the lab equipment and all that and the papers to back it up, but I've had a few people send me things from actual studies from people that have done it. And from what the universities have done is they use it on large scale to treat mosquitoes. And it was really, really good at taking out the larval stage of the mosquito on large scale. And like the good thing about these soap nuts is like you take one of them and it emulsifies multiple gallons, especially if you let it sit in there, stir it up. And basically, I've been using this as my IPM. I even believe it might even be some kind of enzyme product for them because they pray after you use it. But where I got it from was one of our organic OGs collecting this too. He said it in an episode of Tricky D's 420 Resistance about, I want to say 2 years ago. And it was only for like 5 minutes, but it changed my growing style forever. I've been using that until just recently because listening to people that have done larger scale grows, and as I step up, you want to have some kind of rotation in your IPM. You don't want to just keep using the same thing. And that's something that I did. I've just been using the soap nuts and my predators and hoping nothing bad happens. And nothing bad's happened. But just from listening to people that I respect, I've started to bring in optic foliar during veg to rotate between my soap nuts. Yeah, I guess that's it in my rant. I kind of went off a little bit.
No, that's good. Here's something else: is the 18-in-1 hemp peppermint pure Castile soap. Anybody ever used this before? No?
I've used Dr. Browners before, yeah.
Yeah.
Spider mites.
It's good for a lot of things. It gives it a nice little, boost. It really seems to. I don't know. I try not to spray crazy shit on the plants anymore, man. You know what I mean? I've learned my lesson. I've burned a few too many up through the years. So I try to keep it as natural as I can now.
What's your ratio of soap to water? I mean, are you 100 to 1 again? Or?
Couple of drops, man. It's not much at all. You know, anytime I make a foliar spray, I add that to it to be my the emulsifier for it. Instead of using the Dawn, I use a couple of drops of that. So if I was doing like a neem spray, I would use the warm water, add the neem oil to it, and then put a little bit of that in there. That way, when it hits the leaves, it, you know, breaks the surface tension of them and all that good sciencey stuff.
Right.
Sequence.
What's up?
You over there blown out, bro? Look at you over there.
I'm just smoking away, man.
Chief.
I'm having an unspoken contest between me and Spartan Grown about who's got the better homegrown. Like, I'm smoking mine and he's smoking his. I'm the only judge and I'm only smoking mine, so I won. But it was a good run.
Where's your dabs at, Sequence? I thought you're supposed to be going 1 for 1 with me.
Oh,
I did a dab already.
Okay,
I don't know how
I'll
many you've done, but
I'll make sure I keep up with you.
all right. I guess I'll be more obvious next time.
Want to see an old man die? Here we go. I'll give a shout out to another Michigan grower, since this is the Michigan Bros Grow Show. This comes to you from Growly. This is the lime and grapefruit that I picked up at the cup, man. Good stuff. Now I'm going to mute so I don't die on camera.
How we typically record our show is he does this dab half on and half off a mute, and then I got to find some way to edit that out of some really important thing that one of these guests right here said. And man, that's really a chore. So I wanted to give him a shout out for that. We got Abolished here putting up his free goalie cherry pie, and I didn't get the other one that quick, but free goalie, man, he really hooked us up at Cup. Like, even between his products and then the quality and the service, we got to do a bunch of free dabs, and I don't know. I would recommend him to anybody watching this.
I'll recommend them because I'm not over here dying, bro. I didn't even cough from it. It's so smooth. Growly, thank you, brother. We're looking forward to talking to you in the next couple of weeks or so, whenever we can get you on.
It's one of those pillars of the cups. Like, you have to stop by and do it for Crowley dab. Like, you missed out.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. It's like, I don't even dab, but I go for Growlies and stand in line to get me a dab.
Well, we're on the subject of dabs and Cup, Abolished. Would you like to speak about your experience at Cup doing dabs?
Yeah, sure. I actually have them out right now. I can show it off. I was a cup for non-solvent, or a judge for non-solventless hash at the High Times Cup this year. See if I can get this up so I can show it.
Wait, did you say non-solventless?
Yep.
So does that mean like?
Means like no butane.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
basically high-end hash and different types of jar tech, I'm guessing.
That's the good stuff
But
right there.
there's everything in here. There's diamonds and sauce. I'm not sure what to call the one consistency. I've just been calling it a booger because it's real slimy like a booger. And then you can definitely tell some of them are like people's 73 pool or something really, really fine on their bubble. But yeah, there's all kinds of goodies in here. See if I can get some good pictures for you guys.
Are you allowed to say like what stood out to you, or?
Yeah, now that it's all over, I can really talk about it and all that. But yeah, the best one to me, it stood out, was definitely the diamonds and sauce, because I didn't think that was possible without using BHO and chemical processes. Like that blew my mind. And also stuff like this right here, this consistency. I can't believe they did that with
yeah. So, old man, what do you think about these things here?
What I think about him is, I got to show you this right here. This comes from Patrick. This is some of Patrick's work. And really, really smooth, man. I'm not coughing or anything else. He's going to see this in about 10 seconds when it comes on there. He's going to be like, hey, they're talking about me. Shout out, Patrick. Thanks for making it a good time at the cup with us, brother.
He's gonna say, "Dang man, please don't store your concentrates in silicone, or not for long periods anyway."
Yeah, I need to store mine a little bit better. Like they gave me so much that it's gonna take me probably until Christmas to smoke all this. So I can't necessarily keep it all.
Oh,
Fuck you.
We'll all come over and help if you need help. You know.
Slumber
Definitely.
party.
Yeah, just have everybody over.
I'm bringing the bagel bites and the Skywalker OG.
Hey, I saw earlier in the chat. I don't see them right now, but I wanted to shout out Easy Swap Pots, man. Those things are awesome. If you've grown fabric pots,
Dude,
those Easy Swap Pots are so awesome, man. I just love them. It's so much. They're just a fabric pot with buttons. The sides button together. And you can just pull the buttons, pull it open. Oh, it's so nice. He's gonna go get it. Yeah, I love those.
It really
things.
is truly a genius design, and the benefits of the fabric pots are, amazing. I love them. I have them all in flower right now, and someone was just asking me what all the roots sticking out of the pot were good for, and I was explaining that to them and all the air pruning and what that's good for.
Hey, look. See this? It has snaps on the side. So check it out. Snaps. Snap this in. Bring this one over. I'm just doing it live just because it's this easy and this quick as I can sit there and bullshit with you and do this. Shout out to him. He actually made these to help himself after a car accident. Michigan guy. Now check this out. Look. It's perfect. These are nice because when I go to transfer out of this like I just did, like before this live stream, all I do is this. Watch. Unsnap. Unsnap. Snap. Snap. Look, it goes flat. I pick the plant up out of here. I set it in my garden bed. Then I've got the dirt in here, and I just top fill with it. Done. Easy. I mean, can't do better than that, man. Check them out.
It's so beautiful. Because I was always stuck in this dilemma. It's like my first little pots, my nursery pots, my 1 gallons. Okay, I loved the all the benefits you guys were saying about fabric pots before. I loved them, but I hated transplanting because you were ripping it out or peeling it off the thing. So for my 1 gallons, I just used the plastic ones because it was an easy transplant. But now I can use fabric pots all the way through.
Look, there's no roots in here. There's no roots, nothing.
Right.
It didn't grow through the fabric. I didn't tear shit up. It didn't hurt the plant in the least bit. I mean, it's wonderful.
Do they
I
have
just transplanted a bunch of them.
They come in a bunch of different sizes. You can get them up to 7 gallons, I believe it is.
what about small sizes? Like
Yes,
for
1 gallon.
adults?
Yes.
Let's say even smaller. Like, because one of my big gripes I was talking with Miss Cantaloupe is I go through a lot of solo cups, and I want something for that size right there that I can keep reusing.
So what I would do is I would get the 1 gallons and then I would fold them down like a sandwich bag on the outside one time, give them a half roll. And then as it grows as a clone, you're going to want to, you know what I mean? Put some more soil as it starts to stretch up on you. You could actually roll that back up and then get a good pack on it and then transfer over to a 2 or 3. Maybe it's not ideal, but if you wanted to use the system, which I do recommend, I'm going from this to 4x8 fabric raised garden bed. It's a grassroots one.
Well, he's saying in chat that he's got a half gallon now too. So
Oh, well, there you go. See? Good looking out.
I'll be hitting you up.
solved.
Sure.
Yeah, I met him up at the Grow Green Expo. They were having a little spring expo up there. That's where I met him, and it was funny because my wife saw it out of the corner of her eye before I saw it. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna like the next one." So I turn over and I saw what it was, and I said, my first question was, "You got to be 1 gallons?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have 10 of them?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, I'll take them.
Well, and I love that they're people just like us. They're working out of their garage or out of their basement, making it happen. So I like supporting people like that in the cannabis business. That's kind of why we created this podcast. Well, I'm talking about supporting others in cannabis, of course. I wanted to mention that I did a dab while Abolish was talking, and he's one behind. So there's your support.
Speaking of support, today we actually hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. And as a quick story, we started this, as we've said before in other shows, on 420. And our hope was by the time we got to 710 that we would have 1,000 followers, that we would be able to be a bigger part of the community than we were when we started. Because that's the whole thing, is we just keep trying to plug in and plug in and plug in and plug in, because there's so many more people out there than we're aware of. So every day we're learning more and more and more about all of you people and all of the different businesses and the law changes. Did anybody see today about the UPS being able to ship CBD finally without hassle?
The USPS. More
USPS,
importantly, because that's the federal agency. I didn't read the actual article, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Fuck. I wanted to say something right here and I forgot, so I'll credit my dad, I guess. That's solvent list for you.
Well, we were talking about the rule changes in the laws, and I don't know if you. The thing that came to my mind was the new rule changes that they just came out for rec, the emergency rules that Laura just came out. But I don't know if you guys went through all that. There's some good stuff in there, actually. I'm really happy.
Say it live, dude, because somebody hasn't heard it yet, and somebody's listening to the podcast. Somebody's in the stream, dude. Cover it, please.
Oh man, I wish I could remember it all.
Stoned, remember it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first thing I remember was what directly affected me is that if you have a commercial facility, or I mean, we'll call it a rec facility. If you have a rec facility, you're allowed now to share your product with your employees. They can take it as a sample for quality testing. It has to have been tested, though. It can't be pre-testing. So you send your sample off to be tested. Once you get the okay, then you could actually give your employees the actual product that they're growing, which I think is super important, because if you know that it's a good chance that you are going to smoke something that you're growing, you're going to take more care of it, in my eyes, even in a commercial setting, than if you didn't. It's just, so I think that's a really good way of kind of helping boost quality, hopefully, in the commercial scenes. Just a little one sentence thing. Yeah. It's just a one sentence thing that I took out of this huge thing. But when I saw that, I was seeing that they're actually trying to make an effort to see cannabis for what it is instead of trying to demonize it. So I thought that was a win for us. You don't usually see. I mean, it's usually bare bones is what you get from the state. You don't get any kind of gimmies usually. So
yeah, all these incremental bans, man.
They're allowing licenses for smoke clubs. They're going to allow us to smoke in a private club, but that gets around the no smoking in public law. You can actually run a club like a bar, but you're not serving alcohol. You can serve cannabis. Well, you can't sell it unless if you have a smoking club, you can attach it to a what everybody calls dispensaries, except for people in Michigan for some reason. We have to call them provisioning centers, or a micro business. So there could be micro business owners that are just completely vertically integrated, like from start all the way to finish. That's kind of a cool thing.
Does anyone have any thoughts on the new law changes that just came out? We had a lot of stuff. Specifically, I think it's interesting that there's a federal agency that allows you to ship CBD products and hemp flower. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that, but that's like crazy compared to 10 years ago.
So how are they going to regulate that? Like, they're going to stop and take like a gram out of random packages and test it for THC right there and then? I don't get how they're going to be able to tell the difference between the two. Because CBD bud, a lot of it looks just as good as THC bud. It can be just as loud.
Right, and it's similar with a lot of the other laws. When you consider THC in your blood while you're driving, you don't even have to have smoked today, and you'll be over a limit. So many of the laws they have don't even make sense, and they're kind of a work in progress. I would say for sure. Yeah,
and Patrick Laurie, he brought up a really good point in chat. on those micro businesses, the biggest downfall to those is you're not allowed to expand past the property. So all those businesses are on the same property. So that could be security issues. It could be all kinds of things. But I'm not a huge fan of that. I could see where they want to keep them small. That's fine. You can only have one micro business, but you should be able to have the different aspects of that micro business on different locations. It's ridiculous that it's got to be all on the same property, in my opinion. And who knows? Maybe that's something that they may change.
Somebody would abuse that shit, bro.
Well, that's what we have law enforcement for. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're gonna have a lot more time on their hands. And I don't know.
Like it because I'm part of like every little aspect of the business, and like it'd be nice just to be able to go boom, boom, boom to each little part. You know, do my edibles, check on my plants, have my storefront. Like, I'm excited that's all out. I feel terrible. I haven't got a chance to sit down and read it word for word because it does look a little overwhelming. I've been waiting until I got a couple hours to roll a few blunts and really, really read it. But I'm pretty excited that that's finally out because that's something that I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah, it was kind of criminal of the regulators to release all of that information right before a huge holiday where we were all going to be busy.
Shout out to Abolish for the double blunt mule kick to the head and then start reading some Lara.
Yeah, that's I can't remember how I got on the list. There's somewhere, if you dig through the menus on Lara's website, you can get on their mailing list and they'll just email you every time they have a news bulletin. And that's how I keep up on it. They'll just shoot me an email and and this wasn't the exact rules, like the written rules, like you're going to see a whole book of them. I believe it was maybe 1 page worth of stuff, maybe 2 tops. And it was a general overview kind of a thing to give you an idea of a framework. So people who are trying to jump in on this or maybe thinking about building, looking into a property, they have a little bit more to go on. But it's for sure not like the end product yet. So it's probably a 10-minute read, 15-minute read. It's not that in depth.
I like to bring this stuff up sometimes though, because no one really thinks about stuff this way except for me, it seems. But have you ever really considered yourself the type to get out of work and then get home and read laws and regulations and, crack open a beer and read up the latest FCC release on whatever the hell they're doing in the cannabis industry? I think it's pretty interesting that our hobby has brought out that level of weed nerd in all of us, and especially the ones of us that are here on this panel. I think we're all alike in that we're always soaking in all that information that we can get.
Eagle, what do you think?
That's it. Can you hear? There you go. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah,
I hear you now.
All right. I muted myself there. Exactly. I love being a weed nerd and being honored to be here, just being a fly on the wall and listen and learn. I've always just liked to listen and learn mainly. Never been too opinionated, just answer direct questions, basically. But yeah, what a great time to be a part of this. Just be a grower.
Well, what direction do you see it going in your area then, Eagle? I mean, you like the way that it's going. You see the crossover is happening. What changes are you seeing now?
Up here, I wish I was seeing more changes. It's very red still up here in northern Michigan. They're not welcoming rec at all, and which is terrible. I wish they'd change their minds. A lot of counties up here could use the money, to be quite forward.
It's a bummer we don't have access. I mean, we do as medical patients, but as the legalization, people would think when they come to Michigan that we would have access to it, but we really don't yet. Not anywhere like you would think that you do. Anybody got anything on that?
even when we do have recreational access to it, I really push people to grow their own. Once you do be able to get recreational pot, that we're supposed to be toning it down to 13.8 THC percent, which is actually dumbing down most of our products. And why even bother with any of it when you can grow quality meds at home? So why wait when you can be a recreational smoker now?
Otherwise, you're just going to smoke twice as much.
Well, I think he's got a really good point. I mean, you don't even have to think about it in the cannabis scene. You can think of it just in the food that you eat. Most people rely on the government to hand them the food that they eat. You know, you can take the power back and learn to grow your own food. You know exactly what went in it. You don't have to worry about what's the latest recall. You know your stuff is great, and it's going to taste 10 times better than anything you're going to get in the store too. And the same goes for cannabis, man. It's the same thing. You know, your homegrown cannabis, it's going to be better than the stuff you get at the dispensaries. I'm telling you. I mean, I would say 8 out of 10 people, there might be, 2 out of those 10 people that, for whatever reason, just don't have it to be able to keep a plant alive. But there's a lot of power in growing your own, and be that cannabis with your own medicine, or be that, vegetables, which is also your own medicine.
It's nice on your wallet too. Dispensary will empty your bank account quick.
Right. It's one of the things that really pushed me into starting this venture for myself anyway. Like, I hurt my back, blah, blah, blah. I ended up going to the dispensary a lot. Before you know it, like, I'm spending $400 a month in a dispensary. It's like, I don't know, insurance doesn't cover that. I'm poor. I was a social worker, and it was one of the big reasons why I wanted to just go the exact opposite direction in life that I was going in, which is more of, communing with plants and being with soil and just having more of a, I was working in town every day, and it was brutal, dude. Now I live in the middle of nowhere, and I grow plants, and I get to spend more time with my family, and it's cool. I love it. It's changed my life in ways that are like, it's pretty dramatic when you think about it. I hadn't smoked weed or done any drugs or anything. I hadn't drank any alcohol in 15 years, and then I hurt my back, and I needed to have some relief from my pain without, banging heroin or something, right? Because that's what I would end up doing, because I'm an opiate addict. Used to be. I'd been sober for 15 years, right? Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're good, man. I could ramble on about that forever, but that's the impetus for me getting into this thing and making it a large part of my life,
At $400, anybody could have a top quality garden, perpetual harvest, to where they could be sharing with their friends. They could have a perpetual harvest way less than that and never be out any meds. That's the way I see it.
Okay, you said $400. So a listener out there is saying, "Hey, Eagle, I got $400. What are you really telling me I should buy? What do I really need to create just my own medicine? I'm not trying to supply the block. I'm just trying to make sure I got my own." You've been through this. Talk me through it real quick.
Well, you've got to start out somewhere. Good genetics, a cheap light, and some good dirt. That's where I started. Some M3 mix, and it's a struggle to get through that first grow. But once you make that first grow, it's a pain for itself at that point. It's just that beginning that's the struggle to get through. But if you can get through that first harvest, you're well on your way to never paying high prices for it again.
Yeah, I mean, my monthly bill for my whole grow is much less than $400 for sure. And I grow enough for myself and all of my patients, and then, some extra to put on the shelf for sure.
If you take 12 plants right now, which everybody in Michigan can grow, start 12 right now. Take 4 of them, do a quick flip, get them going in veg, let them veg for a month, flip them. Keep the other 8 back, let them veg out a little bit longer. When exactly 30 days later, flip to another 4 and have 2 different flower cycles and keep 4 back. At that ratio, you should be harvesting 4 plants every month. You should never run out of medicine.
No, because 4 plants, I mean, even if you're just struggling and only getting 2 ounces, man, that's a considerable amount to really put away for one person in a month. You got to really be, you know, hey, man, I'm going to bust out these, what is it, 8 ounces? My stoner math?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, you should be doing 8 ounces off those 4, or you can be doing very easily.
Or if you're really if you really think you don't have the time and you don't think you can, you know, do the research, or you really have a hard time with plants, you can grab some autoflowers and you can throw them outside right now. And, you know, in 30 to 70 days or whatever it is, I think 70 is pretty, I don't know about if it's different if you grow them outdoor, but I imagine
up to like 100 days, yeah.
Okay. But you're going to get probably enough weed for the year, depending on, I mean, unless you're a really heavy smoker with those 12 autoflowers.
Yep.
And with very little.
Shout out to Cheap Home Grow and Can Grow out there, because that's, you know, they're the autoflower kind of people over there. They have shown me that it can be done really, really quickly. And they're not, you know, the low rider strains that they were of yesteryear and struggling. I mean, just go on IG and look up autoflower 2019, see what you see. Those are some beasts, man. They're
Yep. When I get back to doing outdoor, it'll be all autoflower, because you can get 2 autoflower harvests in a year here in Michigan.
Yeah,
and
really
you use Morningstar?
Yeah, I'll be definitely Morningstar. He's been my friend for a long time. I've watched this company grow up or blow up, you know, from the beginning. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, you kind of turned me on to Morningstar. He has some really interesting looking strains, and I really like following his page and looking into what he's doing on. He supports other people breeding with his work and all of that stuff. He's not into all the drama that's involved in a lot of the industry, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
I have
he
the
encourages
baby
you to
Huey.
breed.
Do you know anything about the, I think it's called the BH2, the baby Huey? I think that's that's the pack that I have.
Yeah,
I always said if I was going to pop them. Yeah, I was like, man, I want to do an autoflower, but I would love to do an autoflower as an outdoor grow. And then think about it. If it only takes, what are we going to say? It takes, you can do it in 80 days. You could stagger it outdoors with autoflowers, and you could, you know what I mean? Instead of harvesting so late in the year and fucking around with powdery mildew or pirates or whatever, you could stagger it where you put one in June, one in July, bam, 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 and then they're all finishing after whatever it would be 75, 80, 90 days. So it's another thing to think about. And, you know, those are all femmes. Something to think.
Has anybody done autos? Like, how much hardening off do you need to do for those? Or can you go out there and throw your seeds in the dirt like how we do indoors, you know, your final pot?
That's what I would do. I haven't done it, but if I were to do it, that's what I would do.
I haven't started an auto seed outside, but if I would do it, I would start the seed outside so that it comes out of the soil already acclimated to that light. That's kind of how I do photo period ones if I'm starting those seeds outside for that reason.
Yeah, I've never done seed outdoors. It's always been clone. And I know that if I don't let the clones harden off enough, they're done within a day.
Yeah, but if you let the seed pop out there, you should be okay. And another thing is if you start from seed outside, you're going to get a taproot. Where when you're using clones, you don't get taproot, so you get all that lateral growth, but you don't really get anything down deep. But you got a seed, you put that in the earth, just let it go, because that taproot, who knows, it might hit an underground water source. You don't know what it's going to find. But I'd throw that right in the dirt every time. That's just my advice.
Yeah, my seeded plants are dug so deep. I mean, they're monsters. they're going to go down to the water table, no problem. When you think about it, right? I mean, they're going out as deep as they are wide. They're down there, It's cool.
Right.
I don't have to, as long as they're covered up, by the top of the root system, I can almost leave them go for a long time. It's pretty sweet.
It's awesome. You can get Mother Nature to do all the work, man. It's just a blessing. It's just a blessing.
We've got a question in the chat asking what are some of the top breeders out of Michigan that people should be looking for right now? Does anyone have any comments?
I do. I have a personal one. I'm growing out the Keweenaw Copper F2 by Silver Squirrel Farms. Shout out to him. Really, really strong growth. I really like that plant. Go check him out on Instagram and see what he's got going on in there.
I would gotta say Thug Pug is probably the I don't know, one of my top ones, I think, from Michigan. Med Grower 1. I mean, he works for Ocean Grown, so that's not a Michigan company, but Med Grower, he's a Michigan grower. And, he's got this Primal Punch and probably soon to be releasing the Beard on Fire. I have that Primal Punch in my garden right now, so it's a keeper strain for me.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And then another company, it's not well known, but it's called Average Joe's Genetics. I met those guys maybe 3 years ago at the Cup, but they have some good strains, man. They have my best outdoor plant ever was from them. It was called Headlights. It was a headband crossed with Northern Light number 5. It was just an awesome plant. So I would shout them out for my third one.
I'm not even saying, we were shouting the people out for just who's doing seed companies. You don't have to be big. If you like them and you like the plants that you're getting from them, tell people about them.
I was just saying Michigan specific ones. Those are the ones that I would say.
Yeah, Michigan grown, man.
Yep. Those are my guys.
That's it? Nobody else has got anything else? Dang.
Heavy D Genetics, Canna Queen Genetics, Motor Rebel Genetics. They're all great companies, great genetics. And of course, Med Grower 1's already been mentioned.
Yep.
Savant 710's got decent gear.
Forgot about Mr. Tight. How did we forget about Mr. Tight?
Well, he's not a Michigan breeder, though. I mean, he's a great breeder, but he's not a Michigan.
No.
I keep forgetting. It must be too high.
He's just always at the Cup, and you see him here, and you think, he is a Michigan guy.
Yeah, he's hanging with all the Michigan
guys. Much love for Tight. Tight's a great guy.
Heck yeah.
I'm running his lemon lava drops right now, and I also run his barbecue gorilla, which was a great thing.
Oh, that barbecue! I saw that the other day on your Instagram. Man, that was looking nice.
I've smoked his lemon lava drops, and that got me really elevated. Let's put it that way.
Was it like heady high, like sativa-ish?
Yeah, it was, and it was like super lemon too. It was delicious.
Sequence is a lemon fiend.
Yeah,
lemon. It's a lemon pine, a lemon pine sol almost. It's great smoke. It really is.
I had a Vortex that was kind of like that. It was real lemony, but there's a little pine or something to it. And I kept that Vortex for like 2-3 years too.
I'm that one I remember. There's that pine on that Beard on Fire from Med Grower 1.
Oh, nice.
I love piney strains, man.
Well. I love the pine. That's why I made the lemon lava drops. He said pine. I was like, I gotta have that one.
I was reading a thing today that said
I got that Beard on Fire too. I just haven't popped it. That'll be the next one I pop. Beard on Fire.
I've got
Beard on Fire.
4
Really good.
Putting into flower probably tomorrow.
I was reading a thing today that said that pinene is good for anti-inflammatory medicine. So maybe that's one of the reasons why you guys look to that. If you didn't know that, maybe on a subliminal level.
For me, I used to grow an AK that was super, super piney. And the thing I liked about that, maybe it's an association thing and I'm just making an incorrect one, but it seemed to really help me with brain fog and focus. Like that piney, man, just locked me right in, ready to go to work.
you know, if you have a pine forest near you or a lot of pines near you, you can get that same effect from just inhaling the piney. You know, it's the same terpene. You know, you can inhale the piney. You walk through a forest, you feel that alertness. I knew exactly what you were talking about when you started saying that. It's like when you walk through a pine forest and stuff, you're just more awake, more alert, it seems.
We have another Michigan grower. Patrick is shouting out Michigan Roots 420 with his Oompas, which is a Wonka bar crossed with peanut butter breath. Another one is IDK Farms. What else am I seeing in the chat here? What's up, chat, man? Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for dropping stuff in here for us, man. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is just a hangout, and I don't know, man. I'm getting a lot of little nuggets and good bits, and I really dig everybody on this panel. So thanks.
I want to chime in. That's a good question by Cheap Home Grow. They're asking, are anyone on the panel fans of the M3 mix, the Michigan made mix?
It's what I started out in. It was great. It was great. I just had to move on. It was too heavy for me. It's actually why I moved on. I was growing in an attic at the time and had 72 plants in an attic and needed a lighter medium.
That's a hilarious problem to have.
I grew with it and had some good results. I found that it was a little lacking in flower. They do make up for it. They have a product called, I want to say they call it Papa's Poop or something like that. But it was an added, like guano kind of base. Gave you a little extra punch in flower. With that, I found it was all right, but I didn't like that extra stuff when I could get another mixed bag next to it. You know, I ran that Detroit Nutrient Company soil for the longest time of everything. Tommy soil that you guys actually just interviewed the other day, or it came up last week or something. And I tried all these other stuff, and his soil, I always came back to that one. It always seemed to be the best. And right now, I'm trying another soil because of the water retention. Like that Detroit nutrient soil that I've been getting is so dry. I have to really, I mean, the peat that's in it, when you get peat dry, it gets hydrophobic. It actually pushes the water away, it seems like. So this other stuff I tried had they used rice hulls instead of the perlite for aeration. So it's almost like a heavier mix, and it seems like it holds more water too. But I'm trying it. I'm just trying it out. But who knows? I might be going right back to Tommy again. But that's where I stand on the mixes here in Michigan. And all those mixes, all three of those are all like made here in Michigan.
Before we veer away, we also have to mention, of course, previous guest and current dude. Everybody loves him, and a cup winner, First Class Gardens, Cal Gardner. Another seed breeder that you really should be looking at. Super nice guy, super vigorous plants.
Oh, shit.
Spartan's over there sleeping.
No,
We usually can't get you to stop talking.
I was reading chat. I was sitting here trying to catch up on chat real quick. See, Bad Bunny Nutrients shouting out abolished.
So Bad Bunny.
Have your tab off.
Whew, I just did my third dab there. Oh shit, that one was terpy. Speaking of terps, I got a question for the panel. Like, what in your garden is the most unique terpene profile? Like, what's not the standard gas or whatever? Like, what's the one that you open up and show off?
I would say that something that I did grow but don't have anymore is Dungeon Vault Genetics. It was called False Teeth. Speaking of dabs, I'm going to do one. Shout out to Dab Smith. This is going to be Thin Mint. Love it.
Bubblegum for me is the one that stood out when I grew it. I was like, wow, how do you get that to taste like that? And that really pushed me to learn more about cannabis, and I was so impressed by that.
For me, it's always the strain I'm growing the new strain I'm growing because I'm so
I have
used to
some
my
good
older strains.
profiles right now.
So it's hard for me to answer that question because the one I'd pull out to show somebody is the whatever the current new one I'm running. It's usually what I do. Like right now, it's the Blue Cough from Subcool Seeds, and it's just I got a pheno that's just I can't explain. It's like berries is all I can say, like a mixed berry because you can't pinpoint like is that blueberry or is that strawberry. It's just straight berries with like a little sweet sugar behind it even, and it's so unique to. It's nothing like anything else I have. So right now that'd probably be my answer. I'd probably grab for that one. I don't know if that's even released. Is that released right now? Blue Cough?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's not.
Still testing.
Still,
So we got another question in the chat. Easy Swap Pots was asking if anyone has a go-to now that grow stones are no longer available.
I never used grow stones, so that didn't affect me. It's the
No,
little
I have a large
root
one.
riots. Root riots is the one that's affected me.
Man, you cannot find root riots, can you?
No.
I just bought a bag today.
Yeah, I'd say we just picked up an extra large bag the other day. I've been liking them.
Man, I had to buy 100-pack of a Hydro Farm version is their garbage.
No.
So.
Yeah, root riot has a national shortage on those things, which is crazy. There must be a big cannabis boom this year.
Hemp farms using the root rods.
Yeah, that's exactly what I heard. It was out in Colorado. I guess they've had they don't have any guaranteed seeds, but they have guaranteed clones. You know what I mean by guaranteed is be under that, what is that threshold, 0.3% THC or something for the hemp. So they're actually running these fields, acres and acres of hemp with planters, planting live clones because they want to guarantee a harvest that doesn't get hot. So, I mean, I don't know if they're using root riots or not, but if they are, I can see why we're out of them because that would be nuts. Does anybody else do any breeding? So I've never done that, but I've noticed the last couple of shows that's kind of a lot of the shows are going towards breeding talk, which is super interesting to me, but I've never yet purposely bred anything.
It's something I really
Yeah.
want to do.
Say it's nothing I've done on purpose, but I am doing a collab with Morningstar and Canna Queen. They're both using my OG, which has been around for well over 15 years now. Like it's old. Yeah, so I should have some seeds to here soon. Like we'll be testing for at least the next year, but yeah, I'll have some sort of breeding in here soon.
Dude, I'm buying a pack.
You're getting a bunch of free testers when they're ready.
That sounds really cool because I was fortunate enough to actually smoke that abolished OG, and I can point to its quality.
There you go.
You guys got to do two different versions of it, right? Because you got my organic one at Kushstock, and then you got to smoke one of my partner's hydro versions at the High Times Cup. So, what do you guys think between the two?
I like the
If you
Kushstock
can
one.
remember.
I like the Kushstock one.
Okay. You did good.
My memory would be hard pressed to compare the two with my consumption at both events.
Dude, I was just so stoked to meet him. You know, I was like, he was so cool. He was standing at the table with Canna Queen and Miss Cantaloupe, and we just stood there and kicked it and bullshitted, man. And that was like my first, real experience with like, and look at how just open and nice and the way these people are and the way you should be. I'm very grateful for it. I don't take this community for granted, man. So everybody out there, thank you. Keep it up.
You know how when you're a good grower and you have someone over at your house, you know, and you roll up some of your homegrown and you just pass it to them with a smile, like you know that you got something special for them. He did that, and you're like, okay, here we go. And it was good.
Well, I've never been a part of a more giving community ever, and that's in all walks of life. And that's, you know, the thing that's attracted me and kind of sucked me in even deeper. You know, I mean, what's the first thing a grower is going to do to another grower? They're going to hand them some weed. They're like, "This is what I did. What did you do? Let's trade up." You know, and I mean, what other industry even does that? You know what I'm saying? And it seems like anytime there's an event, like I can remember going to the first High Times event, which was the second one ever here in Michigan, with my wife for the very first time, and she was so nervous the first time because she just didn't know what to expect. And you know, when we left, you know, it was the comments were like, "I can't believe, you know, there's all these people. And when people bumped into you, they just said, 'Excuse me.' You know, there was no fights or no. It's just all love, you know." And that's kind of what kind of hooked me right from the get-go. You know, it just kind of sucked me in, and it keeps me here because, you know, it seems like, yeah, you have your bad players, which you do with everything, but it seems like it's way more love and respect than anything else. So I shout out to everybody in the whole cannabis, you know, community. I just think it's awesome.
Shout out to everybody that me and Miss Cantaloupe accidentally bumped into videotaping at the Cup. Nobody was mean about it. Not a one of them.
Speaking of that, have you released your full video yet? I know you released some teasers I've seen, and it looks really interesting.
No, I haven't. I'm hoping like another week. It's taking a little more work than I thought it would. That's a lot to do.
What are you using to edit?
Just the basic, what is it? The video editor that comes with Microsoft right now. Because everything else that I try has just been a little screwy. I didn't like it. Like, this is basic, but it works.
We have another. Oh, sorry.
I was about to say, I probably should buy something to make it a lot easier on myself. But yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
We had another question in the chat asking about Michigan glass companies, if anyone knew any good Michigan glass.
We also have the Class C license question too.
Yeah. And Gannikitten said the Michigan Glass Project will be in Detroit in 2 weeks. But besides that, does anyone have any specific brands or Instagrams people could shout out?
I just go to the bong store and get the cheapest one that I think looks cool. I don't know, man. I just I got this little guy.
Well, Abolish, there's a couple of comments in the chat about some good free video editing software, so maybe the both of us could check those out. Does anyone know anything about the Class C license question? One of the challenges in going from a home grower to a commercial grower. I know that's something that we're all kind of looking into doing someday, or maybe some of us are.
I'm not 100%, you know, versed on this, but I do know, you know, depends on the license. I would say if you wanted to do, you really want to go into the rec side of things, because one of the biggest kind of bombshells for me in that release right there before the 4th was that on the rec side, there's no requirements for, I forget what they called it, but you don't have to have a ton of money in the bank. You don't have to prove that you have a bunch of liquid assets like you do on the medical side. So if you're looking for a Class C medical license, then you're going to have that big, giant headache of a obstacle to get over, because then they go back through like 3 years worth or whatever it is of your, to try to prove that that money that you have that's liquid is legitimate money, blah, 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 blah. But it seems like this rec side, it's not even an issue. They don't even care. You can just, there's no buy-in per se as far as that goes, but you still have to cough up the money for the, you know, the state license. So I'm not sure what that is. So all I can say is as far as if you're going to make the jump, it's going to be a lot cheaper if you do the rec side. Plus you're going to have a much larger base for customers in my eyes. I would imagine that fewer people are going to be on the medical side than the rec side. So I would just say, as far as challenges, it's going to be, property. It's going to be finding property that's in a municipality that's voted to allow you to be there, and then you're going to have to get through the hurdle of getting permitted through them, and then you got to get through the hurdle of getting permitted through the state. So it's not an easy thing, by far. And if I were to do it, I would hire somebody to get me through that process, like the Cannabis Legal Group. That's one that comes to mind. But there's, I'm sure, more than them. That's what I would do if I was going to be putting all that money on the line. I'd be trying to protect it with somebody who knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. They're always coming on YouTube and breaking down all the latest, news for us. And I'm, like I said, I'm somebody that doesn't like to read, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I watch all their stuff because it's kind of dry sometimes, but at least keeps you up to date on what's going on. And it's free. I mean, it's just a matter of just getting on and watching it.
And it's important to stay up to date with all that law stuff, and then, having someone putting that content out there in an easily digestible format is just so valuable to people. What's everyone doing?
Getting ready to fire up a bolt.
I broke up a huge pile of bud, and I've just been doing dabs lately, so maybe I should roll some of that.
I'm gonna roll some Primal Punch.
Armit, what are you doing? What are you smoking on?
I just finished up the last of my GG4. My cut I got from Medgrower, actually.
Ooh, man,
So,
that's pretty.
I'm done. I'm done for the night now.
Good night, boys.
I'm pretty much smoking on a lot of garlic cane these days. Still, it's like garlic and blueberry mix. It's ridiculous.
You're not getting tired of it, are you?
Not well. It is making me tired, but it's pretty heavy. In terms of medicinal, and I'm out of my old shit, so I'm like, it's been a little. Yeah. So I'm still parceling out my hybrid and my sativa from my last grow, and working my way through this stuff. It's nice though. Love it.
It's so nice to be able to just be like, you know what? I need to go to sleep. I need to get some rest. I need to turn this pain off for a little while. Let me just shut it down.
Yeah.
Because when you only have the hybrid, sometimes, you may have a smile and have a lot of energy running around the house, but it's not good at 4:30 in the morning.
Right. It can be more, there's all different sorts of medicines, right? For all different sorts of stuff. Sometimes I got to be up running around. Sometimes I got to relax. Sometimes I got to go to sleep. Sometimes I need to put myself to sleep with some dab hits or whatever it is, It's cool. It works really well. Super grateful for it,
I heard you know a guy that's got pudding that's really good at putting people to sleep.
Yeah. I've been 60, 70 milligram meltable edibles that enter you sublingually and affect you very fast. It's really great. I'm gonna have to hook you up, Spartan, since we're so close. Yeah.
Can't wait. I can't wait. I got some cookies. We can trade up.
I'm interested. You say it's sublingual, so does that have to have a contact time of, say, 30 seconds like a tincture would, or how long does it take to cross that over?
Well, it melts in your mouth over, say, 30 seconds or so, depending on how big of a piece it is. I make 10 milligrammers too for, my wife or anybody else who's not trying to go to sleep. And those will melt in like 10 seconds. They just dissolve right into your mouth. And it's, I make mint chocolate ones and butterscotch cardamom, so like I can be pretty creative with I was a chef at some point in my life and stuff. So it's cool, man. I can be creative with it, make things that taste really good and
That's
have
awesome.
really, really great fast effect. So
Yeah. And it's stealthy. You know what I mean? Pack a couple of those and you can get it on the go.
Totally. I'm totally take them on a plane. I'm sure of it. You know, they're completely dry. There's no odor or anything. I mean, they're cool.
That's badass, and they last forever when you store them. So it's not like they go to waste. So
yeah, exactly. It's the huge problem with edibles, right? You know, if I make a big old thing of cookies or something, I got to smash a bunch of cookies in my face. But with these, I can throw them in an airtight jar, and they're good for really a long time. You know, guaranteed a year, if just really in a plastic bag with a silica pack. You know, nothing big. You jar it and put remove the air a little bit. They'll last 25 years.
Wow.
It's really great of you to make this completely hemp-derived THC medicine that is good for USPS shipping regulations.
I can't confirm or deny anything. I don't know. You know.
So I'm seeing here in chat, and I'm trying to, might be a little bit confused, but so Sammy, he said he has yet to see some smoke lounges and any legislation to use. All think it will be here soon. Laura, I guess it's not called Laura anymore. What is it called? BMR. BMR released a statement on, I want to say it was the 3rd of July. And in there's a license for the smoke lounges. I mean, maybe that's not legislation, but in the legislation, they set up the BMR to regulate the industry. So I think that gives them the power to set that as strong as a law. I don't know.
It's at least on the way.
Yeah, I mean, at least it looks to be that's the way they're heading. At least that's what they're looking to do. So, but then later he said Michigan got rid of it, ? Currently in the application process, I had to provide proof of funds. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he's in the process, and I'm just a little confused by that. But I think, from what I understand of it, I think it's coming. I think it's going to be in the rec side. It won't be medical, but on the rec side, that'll be allowed. Patrick Larry says he loves the Kool-Aid. Have you guys had the medicated Kool-Aid?
No, yeah. I was just talking about it in our chat today with Abolished, and he was talking about how he could educate me on maybe making that when I want to be a little bit more discreet about my medicine.
I've never made it, but the way that I've heard was you just make a tincture. So you're doing an alcohol alcohol. You know what I mean when I say tincture? Okay, so when you got your tincture, you just pour that over some sugar on a baking sheet, bake off the alcohol. So now your sugar's infused. You can use that sugar in anything. So that's the basic process that I heard for that. Or that's the way I would go with it. I don't know if it works or not because I've never tried it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I tried, was it Miss Moneypenny's RSO Kool-Aid at Kushstock, and I was like, I got to figure out how to make this. And I don't make RSO, but I looked up how to make simple sugar, and it basically uses vegetable glycerin to actually bond with the THC. And you just do that. You can either do it with shatter. I've done it on a larger scale with trim, like literally huge, like fucking boiler pot full of trim, water, sugar, and glycerin, and infused it that way. I'd say the taste is a lot better than like if you use. I haven't tried the alcohol tincture. That sounds interesting, but yeah, I think it tastes better than the RSO one. But the RSO is of course going to be better for you medicinal.
I can chime in on that, and I would say that if you're going to use glycerin, since we know that glycerin doesn't extract as well as alcohol or other things that we can use, I would definitely use a concentrate. You know what I mean? Because you're only going to pull so much. But if you're using glycerin, which is only going to get, and I can't say this for sure, it's either 40 or 60% of the planet's able to get off of it, whereas alcohol is much higher to be able to as an extractor for it. So if you're going to use glycerin, definitely use a concentrate so that you're getting the most bang for your buck.
Now, I don't know if it's changed or it was just BS that I heard, but I thought about 6 months ago or so they took away our ability to do any kind of alcohol extraction as caregivers. They said we couldn't do that without a licensed facility. So that's kind of the reason why I haven't even messed with that since then. I used to do extraction with like, full on like Kentucky moonshine, like really, really strong alcohol. But I stopped as soon as I seen that. I don't know if anybody knows that that's changed or not.
No, I haven't ever seen it. I've never seen that before,
Okay.
but I do alcohol extractions all the time. But I'm using the Source Turbo, and so it's an approved. They approved it in Colorado for their because they're not allowed to do a lot of like the butane stuff. The only thing I've seen here in Michigan is all against the butane, anything with the butane stuff like that, and the hydrocarbons. I haven't seen anything with, as far as alcohol goes. But it doesn't mean it's not out there. I just haven't seen it. That's all I'm saying. And that's what I've been using. It's just alcohol. I've been, just using, doing RSO. So it's an alcohol soak. Then you strain off the plant material, and then you put your alcohol in the crucible in this machine. It's just a little tiny vacuum chamber, so it keeps everything under vacuum, and that's how it reclaims the alcohol because it'll heat it up underneath with a little bit of heat, and then the alcohol will evaporate into the air, and then you have ice packs on the top. So when it hits that cold glass top, it condenses and rolls back down the side. So you get to keep all your alcohol, or at least 80-90% of it anyway. And then what's left in your crucible is just RSO. Sometimes it's got a little bit of alcohol left in it, like if the stuff that's condensed in the middle drips in. But what I do is I just put it on one of those little coffee cup mug warmers things that you set your coffee cup on to keep warm. I'll just put it on there and just let it go for a little while and make sure I don't see any bubbles. If I do see bubbles, I'll just let it cook for a little while until the bubbles go away. Just want to get every last bit of the alcohol out. Not that it's a big deal. I just use that organic, edible, food grade stuff anyway. But, the more alcohol you get out, the more potent the end product's going to be by weight. So
I would love to have one of those, man. That's awesome. I just have a magic butter machine, so I can get to the point where I can create the alcohol tincture, but I don't have a way to make the RSO itself. I mean, you could do crazy ways, but I'm okay on that. So I just stick with the alcohol tincture and work with that. But if your way is like super, super safe, it's not like what people would imagine it is at all.
yeah, because I actually saw a video of them running it. It was doing the whole process, and they had a lighter next to it. And the flame's not lighting anything on fire. So that's a good indication it's pretty safe. But you do have an option. It's not a very money-friendly option. You're going to lose all your alcohol, but you could just pour your tincture into a real shallow pan, spread it out real thin, and then blow a little fan over it or a little breeze over it, and eventually the alcohol would just evaporate even at room temperature. And then what would be left in your pan, you'd have to scrape it up, but it would be RSO.
It's like fancy Quiso.
yeah, there you go.
The old tech.
See, I wonder if you could do if the bud or whatever you were extracting is actually decarb. If you could do like an old school quick wash where you heat everything cold, alcohol cold, do a 30-second, shake in a mason jar. Would that be, good to add in the Kool-Aid? I mean, I guess it would get them drunk and, medicated at the same time, though, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways. You can do the slow and low method on your tincture, which is you can do the dark closet that's not, over 70 degrees, and you can take 6 months to do it. Just let it sit there. It'll extract over time. You can accelerate that by shaking it. When you think of it, don't shake too hard. You're not trying to get all that chlorophyll going, but you're trying to move it around. The way to speed it up from there is to put it in a freezer and keep it outside. Shake a couple times a day for a week, and that'll get it done. Or you can use a machine and get it done even faster. Or you can do the Quiso wash, which he's saying, which is to shake. And I think you're right. I think they say, 5 to 10 minutes, so much of just gentle shaking, let it rest for a minute, you pick it up, do it a few times. You're getting a really high percentage of what you're going to get. then after that, you're increasing the chances of chlorophyll getting in there.
Yep. The key is really just, and actually most concentrate making is just cold. Try to be as cold as possible through the whole process, because that keeps the chlorophyll out. You know, so and the more gentle you can be, the higher end product you're going to get. I guess be the best way to, I guess, say it real. You know, because if you really beat the crap out of it, you're still going to get chlorophyll, because you're making more breaks, fresh breaks where they could bleed out or whatever. So keep everything cold where it's not, it's frozen, it's not moving. Then you can get your extraction pretty damn clean with just alcohol and cold.
That's where we segue talking about cold extractions. Looking at you, old man. Yeah.
I was gonna say you're kind of an expert on this topic as far as not cold or alcohol extraction, but physical extraction, or what would you call it? Sieving.
Well,
They
Frenchie's
don't like the word extraction anymore.
Frenchie's really hardcore on it being sieving, but it is sieving, I guess. I make bubble hash. It's what I do, and I do a lot of fresh frozen as well as cured. There's a massive difference, obviously. Like fresh frozen, it's going to be from live rosin, and more for press, less for. I mean, you can dab it obviously too if it's 6-star and all that, or 5-star at least. But in the meantime, my room needs to be cold as hell. So I actually have a very small room built in my shop that has a drain in the floor that I have a air conditioner hooked up to, so I can try to do this. And I have to stay up really late and do it late at night because it's gotten pretty warm out in Michigan lately. So the colder the better, obviously. For the resin that I collect, if it's not really cold, it will stick together, and that's the worst, especially with fresh frozen. It needs to be super cold. So, because you think about it, like wet resin, it's exactly what it is, versus cured resin, which is going to break off. The heads will break off with the trichome stalks way easier, stuff like that. So colder my room is, the better. I make bubble hash, so I have a number of different micron screen bags that after I wash my cannabis in a big washing machine, gets dumped through these screens, and I scrape the resin off and put it in my freeze dryer and dry it up, and it ends up kind of like sand, like really light, dry sand. It's beautiful. It's nice. It's my preferred medicine. Super tasty, burns really clean. It's the reason I wanted to do it so bad was because it was solventless. And I think I realized at the time, and not that long ago, this is, year and a half, 2 years ago, that I kind of felt like solvents were going to maybe have issues legally. That was part of my decision-making thing. And, at the time I wasn't maybe as hardcore on having to be organic and doing all that stuff, but I did start to grow organic. And clearly, I've done both, and I work better with more natural stuff. I just do, and it's for me, the most natural way to get my meds concentrated. And it was easy to start, like I could order a $25 set of bubble bags on Amazon, and all I needed is a 5-gallon bucket and some ice, and I can make hash at home. It's not going to be freeze dried, but it's still going to be awesome, compared to anything else I had access to.
How long do you run your washes, and how many washes do you do per batch?
Excellent question. It depends completely upon the material. If it's cured, I'm gonna have to do quite a few more washes. If it's fresh frozen and the trichome heads are nice sized, I can wash it twice and get almost everything out of it. But the cured, tends to take quite a few more washes, and because so my first wash, I get everything just super cold in there, and I put the cannabis in, and then I put more ice and water over top, and I just let it sit for a while to kind of get super cold and to hydrate a little bit so the buds don't crunch. Like I'm not trying to break anything. That's like the huge misconception about making hash, is that you want to get it in that bucket and jam it around and do all that kind of stuff, but you really want to be pretty gentle with it because you're not
3
trying to.
minutes per wash is what I like to do.
Mhm.
Real quick, real fast, real gentle. Get in,
Yep.
get out.
My first one is usually like 30
runs.
seconds. I do a 30-second run, my first wash of a fresh frozen, and I dump that. And I only take down to, I'll take the 73 to 90 micron and the 45 to 70, and I'll set those aside, and then I'll take the rest of that water and I'll run it back through. And then I'll run all of my stuff after that. I don't know, I have a different process for different material. Everything's really subjective. It's because all of the material is different, and you're not using a solvent, so it makes it much more difficult to say with a surety what I'm going to do with stuff,
I may be inside you here on here. I love to make hash as well. So my next questions for you are: do you prefer to stack your bags, or do you like your individual buckets to buy you some room with each micron having its own bucket, which will allow you an extra 15 gallons? You can do a few washes, dump, and let it.
I have a system. I have a 5-gallon bucket system, and then I have a 20-gallon bucket system. My 5-gallon bucket system, I cut the tops off 5 different 5-gallon buckets, so they each have a sheath, right? But it's not, so they each have their own sheath, and I do 5 buckets like that. And then the bottom bucket opens up into the drain, so it's pretty easy to wash through.
I've got a nice setup too. Every bag has its own bucket. I've cut all the bottoms off except the last one. In all them buckets, went through and drilled holes in all the sides of the buckets. So there's absolutely nothing holding it back. And I also like to run the full mesh bags to speed the process up just as quickly as I can.
I wish I had got full mesh bags, but I did not. And I spent a ton of money on my 20-gallon bags. So I feel stuck with them, in some ways. And they're great bags, but they're harder to work with than an all mesh bag, I think. So
love mine. Love mine. As I'm going along, I've got like a garden sprayer I pack with ice and water and spray every bag down as I go along to make sure I'm catching everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
My
I
next
would wash the
questions
bottom and stuff too. Mm-hmm.
I have for you is what do you do with your water? I guess would be the first question. Do you do anything with your wastewater?
I don't. I have been in talks with a kombucha company, actually, about giving them my terpene water, basically, because it smells amazing.
Some kombucha at the cup that was medicated, and it was great. It was absolutely great. What I do with my wastewater is, you may think this is nuts, but I feed it to my plants, and they absolutely love it. They absolutely love hash water. Take it for what it's worth, but they love it. You'll notice a high terp spike. I've always noticed it every time. And my next question for you, do you think, is it possible, or what are your thoughts on reclaiming terps from your hash water? Do you think it's possible that you could maybe reduce it down somehow and freeze dry that water and maybe get some water soluble terps out of that?
I do, actually. I know I could do it. I don't know how much work it would be though to boil it all. I mean, to aerate
You
it all
couldn't
out,
boil it. I don't think it would have to be. You'd have to
aerate it
maybe.
somehow, or
I've noticed a lot of the times too. It will separate if you let it sit for a minute. So maybe you could like siphon off the top half and
right?
maybe just right on the bottom half.
Yeah. I know
Some
I could
thoughts
do it. I mean,
there.
I can take a cup of coffee and I can put it in my freeze dryer and I'll have freeze dried coffee afterwards, and I can scrape that up and it's a powder, and then I can put that in hot water and it becomes hot coffee again. I mean, so I can do any liquid I can turn into a powder pretty much.
Have you ever taken some of your bubble hash? Spartan might remember this at the hash bash that I remember. I met him at. Have you ever taken some of your bubble and pressed it into a cannoli and then packed the cannoli full of weed and smoked it with a blunt? Because
I
let
haven't.
me tell you, it will smoke for damn near 2 hours. If you,
Uh,
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have
do
to
you
make
remember
that my
that,
next
Spartan?
project.
I was saying you'll be lucky if you can remember it afterwards.
Do you remember that joint? Were you there while that
Yeah.
thing was going around?
Oh yeah, and it would never go out. It just kept going around and around and around and around. You're like,
Ended up giving it to somebody who hung out there with us the whole joint. And I said, man, I can't smoke this anymore. Do you want this? He said, hell yeah. He put it in his pocket and he's like, I got to go back to work. And he was supposed to be passing out flyers the whole time. But he said, chief to us.
Still smoking it right now.
Time. So good times.
oh,
Yeah. I hope
So
I didn't
many-
interrupt you too much there, but I love to talk about hash. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I love hash. I love to make it.
I thought that was an awesome tip about taking that hash water and watering your plants with it. I'm going to do that now. I was just
You'll
dumping
know-
it down the drain. Now I feel
It'll
like
make them nice and green, and your terpenes will be
awesome.
pop.
Nice.
You try it, and you'll do it every time.
Well, thanks for that. That's awesome. I hadn't heard that before.
Finger Lakes Finest says to make Kool-Aid with your hash water. Has anyone ever considered doing that?
No.
I'm going to now. That sounds dangerous.
I have at times just grabbed a glass of like straight hash water right out of the washing machine, chugged it. It's not like a activated THC thing, but it isn't like a full-on plant. You're getting all sorts of plant stuff out of there too. It's cool. Before it's
Smells
run
so
through the
good.
mesh, you get all your good plant stuff in that. It's cool.
That's awesome.
Are you getting a similar
It's all-
flavor off of that as you do from the hash?
Say again.
Are you getting a similar flavor off of that as you do with the hash?
The water is like, no, because the water has like a really different. I mean, it has a million terpenes in it, but the hash is like really just resin. It has the terpenes in it, but it doesn't have all of the plantiness to it. So I don't know. I guess I'm baked right now. Sorry.
We have a question that says, are the hash machines worth the ease of use? I'm assuming he means the bubble hash machines.
The washing machines, yeah, I think so. I mean, get a little one. You can get like a little setup for $100, $150, a couple bags and a little washing machine. And you want to wash an ounce or something, it's perfect for like little home use. I washed a bunch of times with those. They're great, and if I'm washing like some super top notch stuff and I don't have a whole lot of it, I'll just use that. They're great. They work good. The big ones, I mean, I've got two 13.5-gallon washers, and they're just big enough, really. If I run them both, if I'm running a bunch of fresh frozen, it's just enough, But yeah, and then you can make rosin too with a curling iron or whatever. It doesn't even matter. You know, hash and making cool stuff with hash. You can jar tech with it. You can do all sorts of stuff. You know, I don't do a whole lot of that stuff yet, but there's a lot of stuff to be done. You know, I've got lots of work to do, lots of studying. So.
Now, do you run all your bags, or do you like Frenchie, where he eliminates some of the bags and just runs like 190 down to 25 or 72 or whatever it is? I don't know. I only watched one video of his.
Yeah, Frenchie, I think, can afford to throw away any food grade edible making stuff. I can't, so I keep all the way down to 25s, and it depends. I mean, some stuff will dump heavy on a 25 or even in the 45 bag. Whereas your 73, whereas your typical gold bag, you know, where you get all your stuff, your good stuff, may not have as much, you know, or even your one. I've had a 120 run that the majority of it was in the 120. It was bizarre, you know. I mean, everything's so different. Trichome head sizes, the cure of the bud. It's there's so many variables. It's amazing. It's fun. It's like every time, you know.
Yeah.
Eagle was showing off his garden there. I was wondering, Eagle, if you could tell us what we were looking at, or if you're still there. I know he turned his camera off because he was probably putting it back, but it was
I had to close up some stuff, and I guess hold on, before I close up, I could show you some stuff. We got some Nerd OG right here. Some Mr. Tights lemon lava drops under LED. Just a bunch of little girls right here. But right now, the best looking stuff is by far the lemon lava drops and the skunk punch back there. I'm also running Challenger Deep, Slice of Sunshine, which I love, is super orangey.
Hope your camera shut off.
Yeah, I know. Skunk punch that I'm running to. I'm also running Blueberry Quintessenta, which is a CBD strain that is off the charts blueberry with high CBD effects. I've noticed for me personally, I haven't had it tested, but anytime, that's my go-to when I have anxiety, for sure. I also run in some vanilla tart and some blueberry sativa IBL by Coma Creations, and Dr. Cookies from North Star Genetics. Let's see what else is on here. Oh, Winnie is a tester from North Star Genetics, and some Blackberry Frost from North Star Genetics is what you just looked at. Well, and I can't forget my 9-pound hammer. I think that's all. Oh, you know what? There's one more, and my buddy would be very upset if I didn't give him a huge shout out. SoCal Weed Nerd. I'm growing his Mendo Loco. That's what I passed on to Med Grower 1 the other day, which is the Mendo Breath times Locomotion. Super, super tasty, bud. I don't have any in flower, or I'd love to show you her off. Man, I got cotton off like crazy. Sorry about that. But I got to close these tents up real quick.
Hey guys, well, we have 7 minutes left, so does everyone want to go through and give some final shout outs to whoever in the socials they would like to before we close up here?
I'm a hermit, so I don't really know anybody. But I love you guys.
Yeah,
I'd like to give everybody here a shout out for hanging out tonight. Thank you very much.
Me too.
Got some smoking.
I was very quiet tonight. Interrupted a few times, but it was great listening to you guys and hanging out.
It was awesome talking to you again, Eagle. I love hanging out with you, man. And I'm gonna go right down the same kind of road that my boy Hermit here went. Is, man, I'm so baked right now I can't remember my name. So how am I going to remember anybody else's name to shout out? But I'm going to shout out everybody, man. Everybody in the chat here. Shout out everybody that came here just to hang with a bunch of guys from Michigan, just talking bro. I thought it was awesome. I hope you guys had a good time, and I'm down to do this again whenever.
Yeah, definitely shout out to our the panel here, our Michigan Grow Bros crew here. It was awesome. This was a lot of fun, guys. Shout out to the Canna Queen Genetics, of course, Morningstar, Bad Bunny Nutrients for being awesome and let me test out some of their products. Shout out to Miss Cantaloupe, even though she was extremely quiet tonight. She was cheering us on.
Okay.
But
Cheers to the chat.
cheers to the chat, definitely.
Chat really killed it tonight. They were really supportive of the show, and Miss Canna Queen was killing it in the chat, and all the panel members were also answering questions in the chat. So I wanted to thank everyone for showing up and giving the show positive feedback. We're going to keep working on it and hopefully do more of these things. What do you think, Scobo?
Dude, it's been a blast, man. I find myself listening more than talking. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to sift through all of this. I know that, for example, Jack Greenstock will be listening to this or watching this at some point, and he has messaged me before and told me how much he really enjoyed Old Man, because he can't get enough of the hash information. So when he comes across this with Eagle and you, I mean, that's that little gold nugget stuff. That's, like I've said before, it's not that this show is any different than any other one. We just focus on what we focus on. But it's the little information bits that get dropped amongst all these little shows, and that's how we accumulate this stuff. So, you know, thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, it was a hell of a back and forth they had there. I really gained a lot from that. So I appreciate Eagle for asking the insightful questions, and then I appreciate the Old Man Hermit for being a little bit less of a hermit and letting us in on some information there.
Yeah, it's been, you know, again, really cool to be asked to be a part of something like this. You know, I'm just a little hash dude in a little hash town, you know, in a little hash nowhere. It's pretty sweet to be, you know, watching myself on YouTube and being a part of a group of guys of your caliber, right? Because I don't know, I feel like you guys know an infinite amount more than me, you know, and so I'm like, it's cool to just be here and watch and learn, and you know, and I get to contribute a little bit with my obsession with hash. So it's cool, man.
I really appreciated your insight for sure.
Thank you.
And you would come back and do it again, too.
We should do this every week.
I'll come back anytime you guys want to listen to me, whatever, for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just like a hangout, man. Anytime. It's all growers love, man. Growers love.
Mostly we're just trying to give you an excuse to smoke as much as possible. Maybe get away from the old lady for a couple hours. You know, just a good excuse, you know, call in sick for work, whatever you got to do.
I got two things on
Definitely
it. It's
choose
we
that
kick it
goal.
like this all day long on this stupid group chat. So this has been easier on me because I'm not trying to type. So I can just say what I want to say to y'all. But yeah, this has been what it is, man. It's all growers love.
I guess with that, thank you everyone and have a good night.
All right. Peace out, guys.